How's it going there, everyone? It's Mr. Zen over here bringing us a brand new Drifters anime episode discussion. And for today's segment, guys, we are going to be talking about Drifters anime episode 7. And in this episode, folks, it's all about Joan of Arc and her little friend, Gilles de Rais. And I swear, this episode was just juicy in terms of action throughout the whole entire episode. As we see Toyohisa, and we see Yoichi, and we see Nobunaga even have their own time to shine in this episode, as they are actually facing off against the Ends themselves. The Ends versus the Drifters has finally started, folks. And I have to say that it's really getting interesting, due to the fact that in this episode, folks, we actually see Joan of Arc as the main antagonist throughout the whole entire part. But we see that Toyohisa and his group, they don't seem to be afraid at all. No, they don't. They seem like they're ready. They seem like they're actually wanting them to go into battle against them, and they seem to be the ones in control of taking the situation at hand, no matter what kind of peril that they're in. And I'm loving the fact that Toyohisa took control of the situation against Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc against Toyohisa was really plot important in this episode, due to the fact that we see Toyohisa actually face off against the Ends, and we see the very power difference in terms of that. But it's still, with that power difference, you still see that Toyohisa was still not afraid. You see Toyohisa, he really is a man. He really is a leader. He is a person to take control of anywhere he goes. He is really a powerful warrior himself, as it was emphasized in this episode. Because Joan of Arc, even though she has all these fire abilities, fire powers, this manipulation, even with all that, it did not intimidate Toyohisa at all. It was hilarious at that fact that Toyohisa even stated in the episode that, you know, it just doesn't seem that I should be afraid. And if I'm not afraid, you know, like, it just, to me, it didn't seem like Toyohisa wasn't really seeing that as a foe that was really someone to be feared at. To me, what Toyohisa was kind of explaining in his dialogue between, you could say, Alumne and himself, was the fact that it seemed more as like Joan of Arc was bragging her powers, which I thought to myself, and Toyohisa says, it did make sense, because the way that Joan of Arc was showcasing her powers, it was literally just like she was playing. Like, she was spreading fire everywhere, just throwing everything to mayhem, but with no intent of actually placing the fires in a direction where you want the enemies to go. Like I said, Toyohisa said, like, it just looks like somebody that's just bragging about their powers. Like, it's just like, think of like two school children, and then there's like one child in the playground that's just bragging, like, I got the biggest rich dad in the world, yeah. It's like kind of like that, while all the others are kind of looking at that kind of child that's saying, like, okay, so who cares? We can beat you up anytime. And to me, that kind of does make sense to what Toyohisa's kind of saying. By the way, that was just an example of a revelation of what that kind of goes with. I'm not saying that actually does happen, but the point is, that's how I kind of saw that in a sense. You know, it just seems like it really did look like Joan of Arc really was bragging about her powers. And I did love the interaction between these two, that Toyohisa even diminished Joan of Arc's character, because when they were fighting, I love the way the fact that Toyohisa actually used the manipulation of the defensive barriers of Alumnes. And Alumnes herself was actually surprised at the fact that Toyohisa, even though he's not aware of magic, he actually knows how to use it in just that instance. Not to say use it, but to use it to a greater effect. Because the walls that the October's organization that they're able to use is mostly used for defense. Instead, Toyohisa actually used it in battle for offense, which actually puts Toyohisa and the Drifters apart from, like I said, from everyday average people there. Because of the fact that these guys are battle driven, they're ready to take. And I love the fact at that stance that Joan of Arc and Toyohisa had. Like I said, it was an intimidation battle, and Toyohisa himself said, I'm not going to run away. I'm going to go head at you until I die. And I thought to myself, that was pretty powerful, because it's a fear tactic right there Toyohisa did to Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc was losing her cool. Like, you see her as a fiery redhead, brashing about, destroying everything. And yet, you see that Toyohisa broke that character down. Like, she started becoming more and more of a weak character as the episode progressed, due to Toyohisa's way that he was actually implying some tactics involved in the battle. And even themselves, we literally see Joan of Arc in this episode. We get a small flashback as to how she died. You know, remember, she was burned at the stake for being a witch, and etc., etc. and she was basically like all the people in France, they all hated her, etc, etc, etc. And then we actually see that when she was dunked down in the well with the water, that's what she's been looking for, to cleanse herself, to actually heal herself, you know. Like, to me, that symbol right there was very symbolic in this right there and then, because for a fact that means that she might have a change of pace now that her character has actually come to terms with Toyohisa, because Toyohisa was actually diminishing her every single time, even himself, when he figured out that Joan of Arc was not a male, instead it was a female. And like, it was very powerful what he was telling her. Stop, go home, go back to cooking or whatever it is that women do, etc, etc, and do not be on the battlefield. This is a battlefield for men, because we're here to lose our lives. And I'm here thinking, like, that's pretty powerful, but because of the fact that he's telling Joanne, that saying that, you know, this really isn't for you, it doesn't seem that, like, this isn't the type of place that for a woman such as yourself to be here, you know. And I'm here thinking, like, it does make sense, because, you know, Toyohisa and all these characters, they've all been through wars and great battles and everything. Joan of Arc, you know, of course she's a great military leader and all that, but to me it just seems that she was just diminished once she was figured out that, you know, she was a woman. Like I said, it's kind of weird how they kind of went with that. Like I said, it was a very powerful like I would say a transition of a male character to a female character, you know. Like I said, like Toyohisa then just saw her as a weak and frail character right there and then. Like I said, it just makes the character seem more and more diminished due to the fact that Toyohisa himself is actually overbrooding his actual sense of masculinity over her. Like I said, it just seems very, very powerful in that sense. Like I said, it's very, very interesting. Very interesting how Drifters are actually, the anime is actually going along with that. Next we have is Gilles de Rais. And like I said, this episode, my god, Yoichi was facing off against this character, and my god, that was very entertaining, as we actually were, many people were going to be in suspense due to the fact that Gilles de Rais, it seemed like his body did not want to die, or something. Like, apparently Yoichi was actually shooting arrows all over its vital points, even shot it straight up in the eye and brain, and still it was alive, or at least the eye socket itself, but he was still alive. We don't know as to how he was able to do that. Maybe it might be due to the fact that he's already been dead, because in the episode you see that he actually followed Joanne through thick and thin, and because he saw that Joanne died, or actually he's the one that first died actually, because he knows that Joanne did not die this time. He said he's grateful that he's going to be the one waiting in hell for her instead of her waiting in hell for him. Like I said, it seemed like these two were lovers, and I'm loving the fact they actually went along with that route. You know, like I said, it's very powerful to see how these two characters interact with each other. And Gilles de Rais is a character that is memorable in a sense right there, because Yoichi himself could not have defeated this character, not without the help of the freaking cowboys that came in. These cowboys, I swear, freaking Billy the Kid right there. If only Billy the Kid was there though, that would have been entertaining. But they finally used a machine gun to actually destroy this character itself. And then, you know, I'm loving the fact that all the characters are now interacting. The October Circle Nation leaders, you know, with all of these characters that were already at the castle right there with the Black King was, they're all finally met up now. Toyohisa's finally going to talk to Grandmaster in the next episode, and we don't know as to what's going to happen, and will Toyohisa actually follow the Grandmaster, or we don't know that for sure, because remember, Nobunaga, Toyohisa, and Yoichi, they're actually these characters have a different mindset than all what the other characters have. You know, the other characters seem like they're more willing to help, other than Toyohisa, Nobunaga, and Yoichi. Like they have like oh, I rather do this for myself than help for you. Like, they want something in exchange, you could kind of say. Like I said, these characters are going to be interesting to see how they're going to interact. But like I said, Gilles de Rais, his death was very prominent in this episode, and also the way that he died too. Did you guys look at the way he died? It just seems that he disappeared like as if he was like paper himself, like as if he didn't, like his death did not belong in this world. Like I said, maybe when they die, they go back to the human world, right there and then. Like I said, it's very entertaining to see how they actually went along with that. Very interesting, very entertaining, and I can't wait for the next episode to see what's going on. And by the way, Joan of Arc did survive this episode, as one of the dragons actually came and picked her up and rescued her. Like I said, it's interesting to see how they actually went along with that route. But let me know down in the comments below what you guys thought about this episode, and what are you guys' thoughts on the next episode itself, guys. You know, I'm personally thinking that Toyohisa is going to have a talk, and Nobunaga is going to have a talk with the Grandmaster, but they really might be like saying, like, you know what, give us the power to control all the army, and we'll help you out. That's what I personally think. But like I said though, if you guys enjoy my content, give a like, comment, share, and subscribe for more Drifters anime episode discussions. And as always guys, have a wonderful day. But this is Mr. Zen, signing out, and hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace out.